Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on The Flash Season 3. Now this is going to be my trailer breakdown for episode 19, otherwise entitled The Once and Future Flash. But before we get into anything else, let's actually watch the trailer.
Cisco, what happened to everybody?
That is something you're gonna have to see for yourself.
You're from before she dies, aren't you?
2024, I made it.
Tell me who Savitar is. We'll stop him before he even tries.
You are gonna be so surprised when you find out.
You're in for a world of pain.
The Flash. All new episodes return Tuesday, April 25th on the CW.
So wow, holy crap, this episode looks like it is going to be absolutely insane and will hopefully answer a few of the questions that we as viewers have had not only for this season but previous seasons as well. Now it is sort of unclear how much time this episode will be in the present and how much time will be in the future. Obviously in the last episode we saw the rebirth, I guess you could call it, of Caitlin Snow into Killer Frost. So we may see some follow on from that early on in the episode or maybe later on in the episode, whatever way they want to go with it. Because I'm assuming that part of the episode will be spent with Barry in the future and then part of it with the rest of Team Flash in the past, or the present, whatever you want to call it. As you may have heard in the trailer, or seen might I say, the Flash doesn't return until April 25th, so a month's break. This usually happens, it's no surprise, they usually do it around the Easter holidays. It happened last season, it happened the season before. It always happens with these shows. Now April 25th is actually my birthday, funnily enough, so at least I am getting a decent present by the looks of it. There is actually a tiny Easter egg involved with that date, but I will bring it up in the breakdown. Now there is no synopsis apart from a small detailing of the episode about like Barry going to the future to get answers and stuff like that. So nothing to go over in regards to a synopsis, but that should come out in the next week or two along with some promo photos just to, advertise the episode. Now before we get into the breakdown, if you would like to leave a like on the video to show your support, it would be very much appreciated. Let me know in the comment section down below from this trailer because there is a couple of insane moments. What are you looking forward to the most? And of course, if you are new to the channel, as always, make sure to subscribe. Now one quick fact before we break this actual trailer down, Tom Cavanagh, who plays all the versions of Harrison Wells, is actually directing this episode, which is awesome. Now that would actually most likely explain HR's absence in the last episode for like the majority of it, as he would have been busy with this episode's like pre-production trying to get everything sorted. But the trailer starts off with Barry now in the future in his apartment that he lived in with Iris. You can see that everything has been trashed and it is like abandoned. You see Barry rummaging through some stuff on the floor and finding photos, one of which we actually see, and it is of Joe and Iris. Now obviously this is the future where Iris has already died. It would be almost 7 years since when Savitar killed her, so I wonder what happened to Joe after her death. I'm assuming we will find out, or at least get a hint at it in the episode, but I'm very interested to see what happened to everyone following the death of Iris and, just the general feelings, like one person might have got really angsty and sad and it just had an effect on everyone else. Speaking of what happened to everyone else following the death of Iris, we next see Cisco, who looks very demoralized and broken. Now Barry asks him what happened to everybody, with this older Cisco then telling Barry that it's something that he is going to have to see for himself. So this does suggest we will find out what the status of everyone is up to this point in the future. Maybe Savitar killed more people before Barry was able to deal with him, or maybe certain people went down a rough path. We'll have to wait and see. This is when we see Barry in the speed training room that we have seen used a lot this season of The Flash. The board with all the future events, well, I guess they are now past events now. Anyway, that is sort of like smashed up. Star Labs as a whole is just trashed. It's out of business for sure. Now this is actually the point where we meet the future Barry with him saying, "You're from before she dies, aren't you?" Just by looking at this Barry without even seeing like the abandoned and trashed apartment and Star Labs, you can tell he is broken and possibly even messed up. Just with that long hair, it's like all messy and stuff like that. I did make a joke on Twitter that it does look like Barry went and spent 5 years stranded on an island like another character in the Arrowverse. You would have to guess that this future Barry is most likely living or hiding out in Star Labs. It is important to remember that he is the owner of it. Now back to when Cisco showed up earlier in the trailer, they are in that walkway that leads to the pipeline in Star Labs. So it could be that Cisco maybe lives at Star Labs and future Barry was just contacted by Cisco to say, yo, one of your past selves just rocked up. Who knows? But the easiest and most obvious thing to take from all of this is that things are much, much different in this future. Now, even though I did mention it earlier, this point sort of clarifies where Barry has traveled to, and that is 2024 or 2024, which is 7 years into the future. Now, we get a newspaper flying through the air and colliding with Barry. Now, as I also did mention earlier, this episode comes out on the 25th of April. Now, the shows are generally on the date or feature the date of when an episode airs. So, for an example, say an episode aired on March the 6th, throughout that episode of The Flash, one of the days that they're on would be March the 6th. So if Barry is going to 2024, he will be there on April 25th, 2024, which is the exact same date as the day that newspaper article is released, which talks about the Flash missing, vanishing in crisis, the one that's in the time vault. Well, what does this mean? Are we going to see these events play out? To be honest, probably not, but I am sort of confused on how this will play out. Like, the news report from that day does say that the incident happened at midnight earlier on, so maybe now the Flash is hiding out after this, who knows? We were led to believe that this was a fight that was between like Reverse Flash against the Flash, Green Arrow, Atom, Hawkgirl, there might be one more. And then this led to like the Reverse Flash and the Flash going back to when Nora is killed, but they may have changed that, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. It's annoying that this month's break is coming out because this has got me very interested. But as I said, that newspaper hits Barry, so he may notice then that things are different on this day. Like, he might pull it up. There might be similar stories there, but that main story might be different. We do see Barry attempting to talk someone into revealing who Savitar is so they can, prevent all this bad stuff from happening. You would have to think that it is future Barry that he is talking to, but it could be anyone, seeing at this stage, most of Team Flash or former Team Flash at this stage would know who Savitar was or is. Now, this is a pretty weird part of the trailer, and it could be a very dark part of the episode, as we see Wally West in a wheelchair, and he doesn't seem to be responding to Barry. So what the hell happened to Wally? My guess would have to be something to do with Savitar, but it could have been done by another villain. From where we are in the present up until this point, someone else could have done this to him. But yeah, he doesn't look in the best shape, does he? It looks like he's struggling. So this is Killer Frost's hand, but I'm pretty sure this isn't in the future. Her hand does look a bit older, it looks demented, but this is actually in the present, as she does seem to be wearing the same clothing as she was at the end of last episode, that sort of beigey white clothing. Even here, when we see her again, I'm still confident that this is in the present because she has someone else's coat on her, and it looks way too lit up to be that bleak future Star Labs. I really don't think we'll see her in the future, but we will be seeing two other villains in the future instead that Barry will most likely have to deal with. And these two villains are Mirror Master, who we actually see here, and the other villain is actually the Mirror Master's partner in crime, the Top, who we don't see in the trailer at all, but there have been behind the scenes images where she is there and we know she's coming back. So these two have obviously gotten out of Iron Heights at some stage, which is no surprise. I mean, it's been 7 years. Now, this Central City may be like the Star City that we saw in Legends of Tomorrow last season, where criminals were more controlling and dominant over the city. This episode is sort of taking inspiration from that Star City 2046 episode, and it sort of makes you think that's maybe why they didn't do an episode of like that on Legends, going to a future Central City, because the Flash can time travel. The Flash can do that on their show, while Arrow wouldn't be able to do that type of episode on their show. Now, just before this, you actually do see Barry with someone else faded into the background. It is really hard to tell who it is, but if you had to take a guess, it could be Julian Albert, I guess. It's hard to tell, but let me know who you think it could be in the comment section down below. Julian's my only guess because it's the only one I can think of that sort of looks like that. If I had to imagine them putting a really blurry thing over his face. And here is where we get the coolest shot in the trailer for sure. And this is when we see the new Flash suit, the future Flash suit, you would have to assume. Now, I guess a big question around this is, will we see this from now on in the present timeline? Hopefully. I mean, they did bother to make this suit. They could have just made, used one of the normal Flash suits and added a tiny difference. But this looks a lot different. So you would have to think it will get multiple uses. I actually think it's perfect. I know some people want it to be more red, but really, if it does get more red, it is going to start looking a bit silly. It's not going to work that well, and trust me, it won't. Like maybe a tiny bit more red, but nothing like drastic where it's like extremely noticeable. Like a bit more red, so it looks a bit more decent in light, but in like dark scenes, it sort of looks the same as it is now. Like I just think the shade that they have at the moment for the suit is good for the show. It's just like with Green Arrow, like they could make his suit ridiculously green, but it's gonna look silly. Like it looks fine at the moment, and when it's in the light, you can tell it's green, but when it's in the dark, it's enough so it's like a bit more stealth, if you know what I mean. But I guess another big question around this is this the future Barry or is it our Barry, like the present Barry? And I'm gonna have to assume it's future Barry. It wouldn't surprise me if like throughout this episode, future Barry and the present Barry are sort of at heads with each other. And then, you know, the present Barry is in trouble towards the end of the episode, or at some stage in the episode, and the future Barry comes in with this new suit. It's going to be like a really awesome moment and saves past Barry or present Barry, might I say. And then they can work together, and we might learn who Savitar is at the end of this episode. And we do see a bit of that conflict when we see future Barry and, you know, the present Barry shoving each other, mainly the future Barry shoving him, because this future Barry is obviously very, very emotional. But I think there's going to be obviously some tension between them two at the beginning of their interaction in this episode. But as I said, I do think that is the future Barry in that new suit that comes and most likely saves the present Barry's day. But thanks for watching, guys. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like. As I said, it's annoying that it's a month's break, but it always happens, so we should be used to it. And I think when it comes back, there's no more breaks. It's straight from the return, straight to the finale. So I think that's a bit different from last year. I think last year they had like some weird breaks going on. So thank God we don't have that this season. But yeah, leave all your opinions in the comments section below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys, and goodbye.